That's me. I bet you're wondering how we got here, you and I. Well, it all started on my last Bucky game in my first video ever.
45-0 Godlike Bucky Massacre.
If you've seen the video, you're definitely familiar with the fact that I don't actually play much Bucky. I unlocked his spray this game. So, this begs the question, how did I perform so well on this duel list? To understand this, we have to discuss Bucky, James Buchanan Barnes, Winter Soldier. Regardless of how you know of him, he is a powerful duelist within Marvel Rivals. He's the titular deuteragonist to the ever-popular Steve Rogers and everyone's favorite bottom in Marvel Rivals. His primary fire is the firearm with the most aura of all, a revolver. Roderstern, his main method of dealing damage, has a number of interesting properties. First and foremost, this gun has 3 rounds in the cylinder. The fire rate of this weapon is 2.5 rounds per second, with each round dealing 75 damage. This weapon can critically hit. At the time of making this video, Fextra Life has a little bit of an error. This gun fires projectiles. It is not hit scan, which is important for a number of reasons that we'll cover later. Upon hitting a target, the projectile explodes, dealing damage in a cone behind your initial target. Damage fall-off starts at a squeamish 20 meters, with a grand total of 60% damage drop-off at 40 meters. The next thing we'll cover is Bucky's passive, Ceaseless Charge. His passive states this: Roderstern reloads automatically while the bionic arm is in action, granting bonus health to Winter Soldier. But let's get specific. All of Bucky's abilities use this bionic arm. So, another way of writing this passive would be, each ability cast automatically reloads your ammo and grants you 40 to 50 bonus health. 40 for Bionic Hook and Tainted Voltage, 50 for Trooper's Fist and Kraken Impact. The next ability you and I will be talking about is Tainted Voltage, the closest thing Bucky has to an outright alternate fire. Tainted Voltage is a circular projectile fired at 100 meters per second, dealing 55 damage and inflicting a mild slow of negative 35% or 2 seconds. The ability refreshes every 6 seconds and has a charge system of which it can hold a maximum of 2. Bionic Hook, the least favorite ability of Bucky players and victims alike, deals a measly 15 damage. However, the meaningful effect of this ability is exactly what it sounds like, stunning and pulling all enemies hit by the projectile. You can charge the ability for 1 second and hold it for another 3 seconds if you need to. Note that the ability's pull hitbox is a cone, resembling Roderstern's explosion hitbox, encouraging a similar strategy. Lastly, Trooper's Fist is a 9-meter dash with a pin hitbox like Reinhardt, dealing a total of 90 damage and having a cooldown of 12 seconds. Though the ability is most useful as a movement option due to it being Bucky's primary mobility ability, the ability does a surprising amount of damage, and if you exercise a bit of precision, is yet another way Bucky can forcibly reposition his enemies. We'll talk about his ultimate later. So, this is the groundwork of one of Marvel Rivals' scariest DPSs. Extremely high damage output, respectable mobility, but how do you use these? This character has a bit more nuance than is initially revealed, as you could have probably guessed from your 2 and 12 Bucky players you get on your team. How do we operate Winter Soldier as effectively as possible? Firstly, we need to talk about effective range. First and foremost, melee range is far from an ideal place to stand as Winter Soldier. With only one consistent mobility ability, you're really committed to wherever you're standing. If you're standing against an enemy who has a form of
Target Access
on you, you cannot do much to escape them or their allies assisting with your murder. Secondly, do you remember the properties of Bucky's gun, Roderstern? 2 are relevant here. 1, Bucky's gun fires projectiles. Though they are fast, the travel time makes them objectively more difficult to hit from a range when compared to hit scan. This is due to the number of factors you must consider while firing at an enemy, juxtaposed against the consequential increased effectiveness of your enemy's evasive maneuvers. Roderstern has serious damage fall off. Your gun starts dealing reduced damage at 20 meters away, which is just over 2 Trooper's Fists dash in distance. Double that distance and you're doing less than half of your intended damage. So you can stand close and you can stand far. So far, it sounds like I'm describing the weakest hero shooter character of all time.
You must be referring to Black Panther.
This is because Bucky's a mid-range character. Every single one of his abilities start to make more sense when you consider his effective range. His primary fire deals a whopping 187.5 damage per second, fire rate of 2.5 per second multiplied by 75 damage per shot, with consistently available and varied resets allowing for unrelenting continued damage. Nightmarish threat at this particular range. While enemies are in this range, you deal oppressive damage, have unending uptime, and are constantly generating bonus health to keep you from getting out-DM'd. Trooper's Fist allows you to have some degree of repositioning capabilities, so you're not a total sitting duck like Moon Knight. You're an impressive teammate as well, possessing hard CC in the form of your hook and dash to either peel or engage as you see fit. Of course, we haven't even mentioned the ultimate ability yet. But I don't even have to name it, right? Between the voice line and the flashiness, you undoubtedly know already. The ability gets cast so much and heard so often that I'm sure you should be writing the YouTube essay. Kraken Impact. Bucky's ultimate ability sees the angsty, angry antagonist leap high into the air, gaining a dash which deals a sizable AoE upon impact. This circular AoE deals 100 damage and applies a debuff to all enemies hit. This debuff, Culling, will immediately execute an opponent if their health drops beneath 15%. Refreshing another cast of your ultimate ability so that you can use it, so that you get to cast it again! Even better, there's some caveats you get to enjoy when you cast this ability. 1, you don't have to deal the killing blow. If the target drops below 15% health for any reason, culling will trigger and your ability will reset. 2, the ability is an AoE, meaning that you can deal the damage and apply the debuff a number of times on a number of targets, exponentially raising your effective output with this ability. 3, this ability works on Loki clones, as culling gets applied to them all the same. 4, the debuff lasts for 5 seconds, meaning that the actual dash part of Kraken Impact doesn't have to be the killing blow. Some of the best Bucky ults trickle kills by using Kraken Impact as a favorable way to start a fight, win the skirmish in the culling window, and then continue. Now that we have it all laid out, this information begs the question, why do I love Winter Soldier? I love Bucky Barnes, not because he is utterly and totally irresistible, but because of his
Player fantasy.
Put in some imaginative legwork with you. Hypothetically, close your eyes, but continue watching the editing I put lots of hard work into. You're a new player. Your eyes are as dewy as they are glossy, your head is as optimistic as it is empty. You've watched your big brother drop 60 bombs on Genji and Spider-Man, and you lay in bed at night as you hope you can be that good one day. Remember that adventure in whimsy? Yeah, me neither, but stay with me here. You play and you play, but you can never get a positive KD ratio. You use the same abilities in the same way as your big bro, but it just never quite works out. You blame your healers, consistently for hundreds of games. How can we avoid this? Games want you to have fun so that you can drop $50 on Uner skins. What can we do to make sure as many people are having fun as possible? How can we reduce the barrier to entry? Garen is, possibly, the easiest character in League of Legends. He is what we in the industry refer to as a stat check character. It's not about landing skill shots on your enemies, it's not about timing, some second-to-second intensive ability rotation, it's about hitting Q. Your victory is determined by whether or not you chose to engage in the right way at the right time, not whether or not you successfully piloted the character's skill-intensive kit. Katarina, on the other hand, is a bit of the opposite. Open-ended abilities, a nearly excessive amount of mobility, and a flashy passive that allows your abilities to reset their cooldowns. Katarina is what we in the industry also call crazy fun. This is what gamers want to do. Fly around, kill all their opposition, click their buttons whenever they want, not whenever the cooldown system says they can. Back on topic. Here lies the essence. Garen is easy but unfun. Katarina is difficult but fun. Bucky? He's easy and fun. What if I want to fly through the air and execute all freaky foreign foes on the battlefield without spending 10 hours in an aim trainer? What if I want to be the brave engage fighter without having to carefully monitor ability cooldowns? Within video games at large, survivability can be directly tied to your margin of error. The more experience you get in a game, the more your game sense improves, aka the better you get. What if I don't want to have to get good to feel good? I would have to have all of these aforementioned flashy abilities, oppressively high damage, a sizable margin of error. I would have to be able to tackle opponents head on but somehow defend myself at the same time. I would have to have mobility, damage, survivability, and CC all at the same time. Alright, okay, right, you get it. Alex is positing that Bucky is easy, but why should you agree with me? Let's recap this little rival's thesis because I can hear editor Alex starting to riot down there.
Leave me here. My house.
I love Bucky because he's accessible and rewarding. You get to be the flashy guy, executing on the heads of all the enemy gamers, hitting high damage and hooking foes straight into their demise. However, Bucky deviates from the norm here with his balanced philosophy. Oftentimes, in video games, the overall ceiling of what a character is capable of is carefully monitored to ensure balance. Frequently, this is done through conditions, meaning things you have to make sure line up before your ability operates at full effectiveness. One of the most common conditions for flashy reset-based characters is skill. Genji's shurikens, Yasuo's Q hitbox, or Akuma's combo list. While this is cool, it is a bit of a shame because it alienates a sizable amount of the player base, though this is exactly why people who can play these characters generate so much aura. Bucky is the poor man's Genji, shouting out a recognizable voice line when he casts his ult, dashing around and resetting. And you know what? Sometimes I'm the poor man. I don't always want to have to sit up in my chair to frag out. Sometimes I want to contribute without really critically thinking. Sometimes I want to feel flashy and impressive despite no practice at all. Sometimes I love to play Winter Soldier.